Hey, dit is Jeroen van Comic Talk NL, nog steeds in LA en hij moet precies zijn Wondercon. Het feest is afgelopen, maar we hebben echt gigantisch veel content. Je gaat nu kijken naar een gesprek tussen, eigenlijk een Q&A tussen Mitch Gerads en Tom King, de mensen onder andere achter Verantwoordelijk. Ik stel ook een paar vragen. Te gek interview was dit trouwens.
Welcome to whatever this is.
It's supposed to be your spotlight panel. I took over. Sucks to be you.
Story of my life.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Should we start?
Yeah, I suppose. Let's do it.
Oh, we got water. This means we made it. What's going on?
Not much.
Should we introduce ourselves?
Sure.
I'm Tom King.
I'm Mitch Gerads.
Oh, we're done. I guess.
Yep. Thank you for coming. So we have good news and bad news.
Yes, I have to leave 15 minutes early. I apologize. I have a super important meeting after this. And when it comes out what the meeting was, you can be like, that's the meeting. Tom fucked up because he left too late from his panel. So, but I swear to God, it's an emergency. So we're gonna do 45 minutes. We're gonna do all questions. Is that cool? So that way you get to you guys and we just won't blather on about boring shit. And we won't try to sell you anything and all that stuff. So you just ask us questions and we'll go off. Is that cool?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah. So let's go. Questions. Oh, I saw you first.
Are you going to be in the signing later?
No, this is it. I'm done for
I
the
will
day.
be for a half hour.
Oh.
I have a flight at 6.
Why would you want his signature? That makes no sense. Yeah.
True.
It's ridiculous. What's
How
up?
the heck did you get Ramona Frandon for a Danger Street cover?
Luck. So for people who know, Danger Street is based on a first issue special, which was a series that came out 50 years ago, and for each issue of Danger Street is based a little bit on the matching issue. So like issue 1 is Atlas the Great, and issue 1 is Atlas the Great, and so issue 3 is Metamorpho, which is the issue that Ramona Frandon drew 50 years ago. And we're trying to match people to the covers or create kind of links between the two of them, and we're as much as we possibly can. Like we're going to try to get. Well, he agreed to it, but we haven't done it yet. So Walt's going to do this, the not Doctor Strange.
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Phil. It's been a long con, guys. Is it the Dr. Fate? Codename Assassin was drawn by Joe Cuber. We're trying to get Andy to do a cover for that for his dad. So stuff like that where we're matching, and for the first one we got Steve Rude to do the Jack Kirby because he's like a very, Rude's. So for Frandon, since this one we got her, she lives in rural Pennsylvania. By coincidence, the editor of the book, Brittany, lives in rural Pennsylvania and is a huge Silver Age DC fan. And so she literally went to Ramona's house, just to hang out with her, spend a few hours with her. And while she was there, she asked her if she'd do this, and Ramona said yes. And then we needed an inker. And I suggested Doc because he needs the money. He's been out of work for a little while now. He's mostly drawing porn comics. He doesn't find very different name. Doc agreed to ink it and color it, and so it was just a beautiful collaboration between the two of them. Yeah. So that's what. So yeah. So look out for more. You're doing the Manhunters.
Yep.
Because you hunt men.
Of that huge connection.
Yeah, the huge connection. No, but because you have a Kirby vibe too, because you've got Mr. Miracle, so that makes sense. So yeah, so that's how it happened.
Any chance of you guys returning to the fantastic Sheriff Babylon?
I would say it's closer today than it's been in many years.
Yeah.
I would say that. The reason we don't do it, I don't think this is any secret, is we don't own the rights to that. People call it creator owned, but we don't own. It was never creator owned. It was always DC owned.
Build is creator owned, but DC owns it.
Yeah, we got that beautiful Watchmen deal that Alan Moore got, where it's like as long as it's in print, we don't have the rights
theirs,
to it. Yeah.
So if it goes out of print, it's back to us.
But they did now. It's funny, we get our royalties, and there's like a line, like if we make less than, like $1,000 or something. So when people come up to us like, oh, I just bought 50 copies of Sheriff, you're like, thanks, cost us our rights,
Just this weekend we had a teacher come up and she's like, I bought 90 copies for this college class I'm doing.
They teach Sheriff at West Point.
Yeah.
Or at least someone told her that. So yeah, because of that, we're never gonna. So if we were to do more, we would just be giving those characters to DC. So and when we get the rights back, we'll do more. And we're a little closer to that at least.
So basically, you're saying don't buy the book anymore.
No, keep buying. No, there's nothing you can do to reach the minimum. They'll just change the minimum. Honestly, their lawyers are very good. They hold on to Batman. They know how to hold on to Sheriff.
The other side of that is if something gets made, we'll do another one because we like money.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's the other side. If they actually use it, because we've gotten so, I wouldn't say close, but like tons of people are interested in making. It's such an easy TV show. Oh my God, it's just True Detective set in Baghdad. It's such an easy pitch. And but we've always turned them down because we don't control it, we don't have it, we can't sell it. So if we ever get back, we'll do another one. It's written, I wrote it. The second season's written. So we'll just have to do it.
For a while.
Yeah, I wrote it 10 years ago. What's up?
So you both collaborate together, and then you've worked with different artists, you've worked with different writers. What would you say makes a good marriage between an artist and writer when working on a project together?
Batman.
if you can bring Batman to the artist,
yeah.
Okay. What makes a good artist writer collaboration?
Neither one of us feel like we're the boss.
What? Oh yeah, no, neither of us.
I hesitated to say that because I knew the joke was coming. But yeah, when Tom and I do a book, it's very collaborative. There's no, like, I'm the writer, this is my vision, and I'm the artist, and this is my vision. It's a together thing.
I totally. But is there? Let's change the question and make it negative so we can trouble. Are there things that writers can do that would like piss you off?
Yeah. It's the Alan Moore script of. There's a listing of everything placed in a room and where it's supposed to be, and all those things that take freedom away from artists, and just being too precious with one side of it. Artists, especially because you can turn in an amazing script, but then part of the artist's toolbox is to figure out how to interpret that in the best way, and sometimes writers want you to draw their script as given. And you're like, well, it would work a lot better if we did this and this and this. And Tom and I have always been, I always used to make the joke of, Tom's like, why do we work well together or whatever? And how come I have all these changes with other guys? I'm like, oh, just because I don't ask.
Yeah. Yeah, some artists would be like, Tom, I want to change this thing, is that cool? I find out you change things when I see the pages.
Yeah. The only time
they're always better.
The only other time I tell him when I change something is when I want him to like acknowledge and say it's cool.
There are things artists do that make me upset.
Yeah, let's hear it. Yeah.
Anyone who says they're going to do something and doesn't, like that's probably the worst sin. Like I'm going to do 5 issues with you, I can only do 3 halfway through.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing that's like the worst.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, when they do stuff that's just like, it's not modern and gets me in trouble for something they sort of made a decision about.
Yeah.
Like they're drawing something that just doesn't meet modern standards, and I'm going to take heat for it. That makes me upset. Those are probably the 2 big ones. What's up? Looking right at you.
I wanted to ask, you guys always kind of work in like the 12-issue format? Not all the time, but like I feel like most of the books you've done together have just been that 12-issue format.
We haven't done it in a while.
We did when they let us.
Yeah, they don't let us anymore.
Okay. They're not big on 12-issue things anymore. They like the shorter.
Because the artist, not
yeah, that's because, and I'll tell you, like even I did Sheriff all 12 issues in a year.
In 12 months.
12 months, yeah. And
which was crazy because I was doing Omega Man and Vision at that time.
Yeah.
And Sheriff was 22 pages, it wasn't 20. Which
yeah, so it equals 13 issues in 12 months.
Yeah.
But once you hit that 6, 7, range, you start to slow down a little bit, or like you start to catch up with what they gave you for lead time, and then by the time you're at like 8, 9, you're trying to outrace the printer, and that's really anyone, and that's probably the fastest of most of us artists. So the 12 issue thing really only works if you have some sort of built-in break after 6, but companies don't like to do that. So.
Yeah, that's the crux of it. It's great artists these days are 8 issues a year, I feel like, at the max.
Yeah. And I was like, people always go, oh, you know, back in the 60s, this guy did 6 issues a month. But like, I mean, you go farther back, you look at like Batman #1, when Batman and Robin are swinging through and there's a cityscape in the background and it's just, you know, the cartoon rectangles with windows in it. I'm like, if you turn that in these days, you get fired. And so like, but go back to 1940 and tell that guy you have to do it in 3-point perspective, he'd be like, what? You know?
Also, they had inkers and colorists.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I always tend to forget. I'm like, oh, why am I so behind on this deadline when all my friends are doing this? And I'm like, oh, that's right, I do all of it.
Yeah.
And I can only do one thing at a time.
And they didn't have kids.
Yeah, also, Sheriff, I didn't have a kid yet, so.
Kids suck. They suck. That's a fucking thing. We didn't ask a question. You just said 12 issues and we talked for fucking.
No, it's fine. I don't even remember now. I think I was just asking, like, what made you decide, like, that did you want Sheriff to be 12 issues, Mr. Miracle, or was that like you guys talked about the story and decided to split it into 12 issues?
First, I like miniseries where there's an ending. You know, there's, for all sorts of reasons, but mainly because you have more power when the ending is already defined. Because, like, let's say a lot of the stuff Tom writes and that I've done too is there's like a mystery element. And if you have an ongoing with a mystery, people get real, like, antsy and stuff. But,
oh crap, I have Wonder Woman.
Yeah. But if you have, you know, a finite thing, at least some of the audience will know that you're only going to get to that answer in the very, very back half or very back end. But we've put out plenty of 12-issue books where the first issue comes out and they're like, they didn't even answer it. 11 more issues, dude.
Yeah, I mean, Sheriff, because Sheriff was a novel I wrote that didn't get sold, and then so I knew it had an ending because I'd written the whole novel and was translating that to 12 issues. And then Omega Man got canceled, so that's why it was 12 issues. And then Vision was 12 because they offered me Batman, so I left Vision. So it was just a coincidence that I started off with these 3 12-issue series. And then, yeah, it's been, I like them better. I like working on them. I've been doing them for the last 5 years. It's all I've been doing. I think it's so satisfying to have just a trade that is on your shelf where it's like, that's mine. It has a beginning, middle, and end. You come to my table, you want to buy a Supergirl or a Strange Adventure. I don't give you a complete story that you can read and you can, you know, yeah. It's the most rewarding thing comics do, a 12-issue.
What do you go back to if you're stuck or frustrated for inspiration?
I always have one of my Norman Rockwell books open next to my computer. Just an unlimited font of knowledge in those books. He can tell so much story in just one panel, one image, and just even the sketches and facial expressions and stuff. There's so much life in them, and that's always a huge goal of mine, is to not necessarily like realism, like not trying to be Alex Ross or anything, but I'm trying to make that emotional connection where you see humanity playing out in the book. But yeah, that's what I go to. It is like kind of a funny thing when you have been in the industry for a few years now. You start to realize that deadlines don't care if you have artist block or anything, so you just kind of don't. You just kind of find your way to work through it. Stuff has to get done, and it's very rare you can just take a day to be frustrated. I mean,
yeah, no, that's what I actually like about having started a novel is, like, that comics, you don't have time for writer's block.
Yeah.
You don't have time to be like, this sentence isn't perfect, let me rewrite it 50 times because it has to go.
Yep.
And it makes you a better writer because the first time you wrote it was probably the best sentence, and you're just making it worse every time with your doubts. So that it makes me a better writer than a comic book writer.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
When I've never gotten writer's block. I always have just stuff coming out. But when I'm stuck for an idea, I steal from old movies. I mean, that's like, obviously Supergirl stole from True Grit. What else? Human Target is stolen from an old movie called DOA. Strange Adventures is from an old movie called Acts of Vengeance. See, I go to mostly old noirs, and I kind of see these kind of perfect little stories. I mean, I'm working on a story this morning. I was in the shower. I was like, I can't get into it. I don't understand what it is. I was like, wait, it's Rio Bravo. I was like, oh yeah, it's Rio Bravo with John Wayne movie. And then suddenly it made sense in my head. So that's what I do.
After talking to so many artists and writers in this industry, I realized every story is created in the shower.
Mr. Miracle is created in the shower.
Yep.
100%. Yeah. I've been calling you calls.
Let's sort of follow up what you were saying about not being able to do 12 issues anymore. Does it feel like a natural structure is emerging at a smaller number of issues? Or is it just, I have to make 8 issues work?
I mean, you have to adjust. I did some 6 issues recently. I did Killing Time with 6 issues, and Gotham Year 1 of 6 issues. And those are also 28 pages of pop, which is very helpful to have a longer comic. Mr. Miracle is 22. Strange Adventures is 28.
Yeah, but 2 different artists.
Danger Street's 28. You have to, like, I knew with Gotham Year 1, I was like, there's just no time. We're hitting the ground running. Every issue has to have huge revelations. There's no time to do like a bottle issue where, like in Mr. Miracle when we did a whole issue, which was the side scroll issue.
Yeah.
Like we wouldn't have time to do that in a 6-issue series. There has to just be plot pouring out of you in every issue. Yeah, so it is a different pace, but I don't know, through the magic of everything, your brain adjusts. I've done my 10,000 hours. I know where things have to be and where things can't. But yeah, I mean the hardest thing is ongoing is much harder to balance, at least for me. Like I'm doing Wonder Woman now and Penguin, and it's much harder for me to think, okay, this mystery doesn't have to be solved by issue 12. It's like I have to get, it's much weirder and harder. It's if you know where the end is, you know exactly how to space it out. If you don't know where the end is, you don't. And you're like, well, Tom, how come you don't plan it like that, like just the 6 issues or whatever? Because the artists can change. You have to be flexible in comics for the art, and you want to make sure you're writing to exactly the right artist at the right time. Yeah.
I think Brave and the Bold it's 24 pages each issue for 4 issues, which comes to 96.
Yeah, that was
Is that
hard
right?
to pay. Well, I mean, we did that One Bad Day, which was 64 pages, and that which to me is 3 issues in my head. Yeah. So I read an issue a week, so I gave myself 3 weeks.
But the crazy thing about Brave and the Bold is it's 96 pages total, but it's retelling a 20-page story.
No, an 8-page story.
Oh, an 8-page
story. It's the exact definition of why decompression is terrible. Yeah. So it's finding a lot of moments in each of them. We've already covered the first 6, so we have 2 pages for the last.
We have 2 issues to cover the 2 pages. Let's find someone we haven't done yet.
He's had his hand up for a while.
Tom,
what's up?
Are you going to have any involvement in the Supergirl movie?
So, if I don't have a PR person sitting next to me, which I don't right now, I have to say no comment to all movie questions. So if you're gonna ask movie questions, I love them. I wish I could answer them, but I can't talk about it because I don't have. I won't say I got in trouble, but there was an incident. So now I'm on strict lockdown.
That Tom Holland plan.
Yeah. I'm gonna get a lot of shitty, no comment, boring answers. I apologize. I wish I could. Yeah.
Robin Hood.
Green Arrow.
I try. Okay. You guys talk about your journey of. I know a lot of times artists are decided by editorial, but your guys' journey of keep fighting each other through different books and stuff like that. And like, Tom, are you like, I want Mitch on it or whatever?
I think now, most editors and DC, the publisher just kind of knows we're a team.
Well, they said to you recently, how do you know Tom's going to write something for
us?
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I had a phone call and they were like, well, what if Tom's too busy to write something for you? And I was like, he is the godfather of my son. He will do what I want. I just have my son call him, Tom.
It'll work. Or Thorne will come beat me up.
But, because right after Sheriff, or kind of when I was doing those first 2 issues of Batman, they would kind of soft pitch me other things, but I just kept wanting to work with Tom. And I think now we've done enough where they just kind of know that our next plan is probably already decided between us. Not that we get to pick our projects, but we at least get to pitch our projects, which is nice.
Yeah, they want us to do Batman and Superman, and we want to do Obscure, and then we try to find a compromise between those two. Yeah, they let us. It's funny because in the beginning they wouldn't let you on Batman. They wouldn't let us pair up. They thought we were weirdo indie guys, and now they want us to do the most mainstream stuff.
I just remember, this is no bad story, but it's when I was supposed to do Batman 15, and someone else was supposed to do Batman 14, and then I think the plans for that fell through, and so I got a call from the editor at the time being like, hey, do you want to do 14 and 15? I was like, yeah, sure. And they're like, can you do it at the same time as one issue? And I was like, oh, cool. But it was Batman, so I said yes, and I did it. But what was funny before that is originally it was a hard sell to get me on the book because Dan DiDio at the time, who I love, he just didn't know me at the time. He was like, oh, Mitch on Batman, no. And because of that time crunch, I got put on it, and I know from a fact, because I either heard from Tom or some other editor, but they were in a meeting and they were like, why isn't Mitch on more Batman?
Yeah, for sure, yeah. But, the way it works now is it's all about life for us, because we live real lives, so, but it's not secrets, if you need more royalties, you work on a Batman book, if you have more time, you want to do some personal story, we do that, I just want to make him happy, and if he's happy, then I'm happy. It's not rocket science. What's up, man?
Speaking of pitches, do either of you have any interesting pitches that weren't picked up on?
Do we have interesting pitch? We did a pitch that they rejected. Which one? The Dr. Fate pitch.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We were supposed to do a Dr. Fate follow-up book, which was after Strange Adventures.
Yep.
And we're like, hey, we got the next idea, we're going from Mr. Miracle, and we just did, Adam Strange, now Dr. Fate, and they're like, no, Batman.
I think had we pitched it closer to when they knew Dr. Fate was going to be in the movie.
Yeah, then he became the breakout star of the movie, yeah. But yeah, they were just like, no more, you have to take a break from obscure characters, you have to give us
Which, bend my arm and tell me to do Batman.
But that pitch wasn't locked down very much. It wasn't
No, it was pretty nebulous, so it wasn't like a full pitch. But yeah. I have a thing.
And then we were supposed to do back in the day that Batman thing.
War
of Jokes and Riddles was supposed to be a 12-issue Batman series that we were going to do together, which would have been much different than what it was. And I think it would have been, if we had done, that would be I wish that existed. We could make that into a TV show and a movie, and we can
It's going to be our long Halloween.
Yeah, what I did with Mikkel and with Clay was much more big and superhero, and I love that. It's probably definitely my most popular arc of Batman. But we were going to do a quiet The Wire with jokes and riddles being this gang war. That would have been sweet.
Yeah.
So you guys talk about Sheriff and not owning that, but we're 20 years since the invasion of Iraq, and you served there. You guys wrote that book together.
20 years, geez, I'm so fucking old.
Right? and it's do you feel like there's more to tell in that world, or do you guys feel like you said everything that you wanted to say about that time?
To be perfectly honest, I could not write Sheriff today. I wrote that as a novel, so I could date it because I remember my daughter. So I wrote it in 2011. And I was in Iraq in 2004. So it was only 7 years after I left. now 19 years after I left, I can't remember it. I don't have the immediacy of it. I couldn't remember the details like I could back then. I couldn't remember. It's a book I couldn't redo. That's why I'm relieved that I wrote the sequel to it back then. Yeah. So yeah. I think there's a ton left to say. I feels like we're still paying for that sin. Like, I don't know what you call it, but like, it was like we all had some contract with the government that they'd be slightly sane, and then they did a really insane thing. They invaded a country, and since then, like, we've all gone mad, you know. So yeah, it seems like there's still a ton left to dig in that world. And I love those characters, especially Nasser and Sophia. They're so badass. It would be fun to revisit them. But yeah, I don't remember it. My brain is gone. I also wrote, you know, that was one of the things where my first novel came out, it was a big flop, nobody bought it, and you know, I was getting desperate, I was making money, I was a full-time Mr. Mom, and I put every single thing I knew about the war into that one thing. I don't know if I have any other stories left to tell. There's only so many. But I was in another war, so that was good, so I sold that one.
I'll tell you, finding research for that book was no easy task. So we're even 4 years removed from it. It would probably be an absolute nightmare. I'd be up for it.
Wave in the back.
You had made a comment during the tail end of your Batman run that you had a plan that would change him for at least a generation. I don't think you were able to ever get to that. So what was that?
Oh, he was supposed to get married. I don't know if he knows that part. That would have changed him for a generation, yeah. At one point it was greenlit. Near the end, it was good. The marriage was greenlit. So I probably said it during that small window before that door closed. It was one of the. It had been closed from day one. I had proposed the marriage before I started on it, and it had been closed. And then after 50 came out, they're like, "Wow, there's a lot of energy here." And then towards the end, they're like, "Yeah, well, they said we could do." Clay and I were supposed to do. That's the back was supposed to be in continuity and be a marriage and the whole thing. And then just so many things happened at once that conspired to sort of close that door. So yeah, that was it. They were supposed to be. I mean, they got married in Backcat, so I got to write it, but it wasn't like a thing permanent. Or maybe it is a permanent thing.
It's all continuity.
Yeah. Robin Hood, sure. Stop trolling me.
Holy shit.
My spotlight panel, then.
Oh my god.
So One Bad Day kind of establishes Ridler as one of Batman's most favorite, not the most favorite villain. So I'm curious, like, what are your personal favorite Batman villains? To draw, to write, or just to look out?
Mine was Ridler. That was my dream book. That's a book that I've been talking to Tom about since I met him. And it just kind of worked out.
Did we do it? Did we hit the dream?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Because you described to me so hard. You're like, I want to do a book that's
The pitch I gave you was like an impossible task for a writer, and that's why the artist came up with it.
It's like one big puzzle that puzzles into a puzzle. Yeah. I was like, oh shit.
But like you wrote my dream Riddler book, and I drew my dream Riddler book. I'm such a fan of the Riddler, and I hate how he's used in comics. So this is my chance to do the Riddler that I see in my head.
I don't have a when I was a kid, I used to say Two-Face, because I remember when I was a kid, I was one of those kind of like, I could never make a decision, and the fact that someone turned in their whole decision to a coin, I thought that was such a cool concept. But I never wrote Two-Face, and whenever I read his stories, I get bored out of my mind. So like, I don't know, like I do have one. The ventriloquist. I like him. I got to write him briefly. I like this idea that there's this weenie guy and he has someone on his hand who yells at him. That is utterly fun. And I wrote him. I remember I put him on a team, the ventriloquist without the puppet, because he's the one person who can't control his brain. He's already surrendered his free will to his hand. Yeah. So I have an answer. Ventriloquist.
Wait a minute.
In terms of the topics and themes your book deal with, how much of that comes from personal experience?
Dude, everything, every single thing, yeah. I mean, so I didn't start, I mean, obviously I came to comics about 10 years after I was a grown-up. So I stripped mined those as much as I could, so there's lots of CIA stuff and then lots of dad stuff. And then, I mean, because I write so many goddamn stories. You know, every week I have to write a story. And eventually, there's just nothing around except myself. Like, it's just me in that room. So I'm strip mining myself. So I'm looking for things that I'm afraid of. And even if that said, like, if I wrote like a autobiographical comic, you'd be bored out of your mind. Just, like, and that day I sat in my office and looked at art auction sites all day. Like, who wants to read that? So it's not directly, it's kind of like processed through my subconscious. But yeah, you have to, there's no way to write good without writing personal, or at least no way for me to write good. I think other people do it, but everything I write is somewhat from the heart. Except that Teen Titans annual, but.
And my wife is a princess from another planet, and I ride around in a jetpack and real douche.
Well, you look good doing it.
Oh yeah, I look great.
We got them all.
Me.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go.
Speaking of strange adventures, was there something you wanted to put in the book that you couldn't?
Oh, I told him to ask this question. He's gonna ask me some question about strange adventures.
You have plants in the audience? Wait, are you guys all here because Tropical Income?
Yeah, I do. They're all these questions are mine.
Oh man.
What did we cut out of Strange Adventures? We cut the sex scene. Got cut down way. Yeah. I had a scene where Alana and Adam were going up or vociferously having some fun.
Well, the actual page that made it into the book is just a zoomed in cropped of what Evan originally.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was so, because Evan's known as like the ideal Silver Age, nice, neat 50s stuff, and I had him do a sex scene, and that was so fun. And so yeah, so we cut that out. What else did we cut out? We cut out
Strange Adventures.
What they made us cut. A lot of cuss words. They are pissed at me that I keep killing my main characters in my books. They've literally told me to stop it. They're like, Adam's dead, Chance is dead, Ridler didn't do so well in that fight. I was like, Kite Man's still around. I was like, what about Vision? They're like, no, she doesn't count.
Supergirl's alive.
Yeah, Supergirl's still alive.
Her dog made it.
The dog made it. Yeah, everyone made it out of Supergirl.
They talked us out of the original pitch of Ridler, which involved more main character death.
Oh yeah, in the original pitch we killed, it was good to talk us out because we've been on it.
Yeah.
Gordon was supposed to be the victim. And he would be a random, and he was gonna be searched like, why did you kill Gordon? Why did this happen? And there was no reason.
It was super dark. It was Gordon, or Ridler shows up in Gordon's room and shoots him, and then shoots himself, and then Batman has to figure out why. They're like, no.
That's a good opening. I don't know where I'm going after that, but that's a good first 5 pages. I could write that and go, hey, make some dinner. Yeah, like the next day Tom would have some problems. First day Tom, that's easy. I feel like I've written the most people putting a gun to their head and like, no.
So I see my kid bring that to his class, like, look what my dad did.
As opposed to what?
Murder, suicide.
Your S&M crucifixion from Mr. Miracle.
Yeah, I sold that page.
In the front that we missed.
I mean, I guess going right off of that, is that why you get the love everlasting, where you get to just kill her over and over again?
I do, yeah. It's love everlasting gets, yeah.
I mean, I was actually going to ask like where that idea came from, and like especially since she's sort of like, she keeps being stuck in various times, but no, like at least maybe not yet. You haven't done anything modern for her. It's all in like these like past visions of romanticized literature.
So over the pandemic, I started collecting too much stuff just to have something arrive in my day. And I was collecting comic book art, and I wanted to get Kirby Toth like Frazetta pages, but I couldn't afford them because they're like $50,000. But I could get a romance page, like a Toth romance page, and they're so gorgeous. So I started buying those, and they're like $2,000, $3,000. And so I was buying all these romance pages, and I was like, what are these comics? Like I wanted, just wanted to read the rest of them because I just read one page. So I started reading these romance, and I just, I I went insane during the pandemic. I know I'm the only one. Everyone else kept their head, but I was insane. And so I was like, what are the fucking romance comics? I know it's a dumb idea, but and so I started researching, and I just started reading them. Just like, wait, a quarter of all comics for 30 years I've never even heard of or read or been reprinted, and they all just sort of sit here and nobody looks at them. I was like, oh my god, it's like a minefield of wonder. So then I started reading, and as I was reading them, I mean, there's something feminist about it in the fact that they were comics that were written for women that have now been ignored. So that sucks. But they're also totally sexist in that they're just like women are this one thing and have this one goal. And if you read enough of it, it's the same girl. It's this generic white girl. She's 22. She has a little problem. She overcomes a problem. And I was like, man, this is the same woman in all these comics. And then I was like, what a fucked up life she leads. Like, one day she's, you know, in love with the quarterback, and they get engaged. The next day she's in love with her boss, and they get engaged. And the next day, like, that's just torture. That's hell for her, right? And I was like, oh, that's a story. I was like, oh, it's good. It's trauma and torture. I'm into it. And so yeah, that's how that idea came about. I was like, I want to tell the tale of this poor woman who's in 10,000 romance stories and what her life must be like. What happens when she wakes up and realizes that this is happening to her? So, yeah, I absolutely love that.
This might be a bit ridiculous.
I'm checking my phone not because I'm rude, just to see if I'm missing something. My wife says, found some professional badminton players. Why the fuck would I care?
This might be a bit ridiculous since you guys did One Bad Day Ridler, but how would you approach, One Bad Day Kite Man?
One Bad Day Kite Man? It's tough because I feel like Clay and I did that.
Yeah,
I feel
that
like,
basically was.
I think those two Clay issues are One Bad Day Kite Man issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, I already made him sad. And
we have this text thread that we have between me, Tom, Clay, and them, and I remember when he texted me the origin of Kite Man. I was like, oh my god, Tom. Every pitch you have involves some terrible tragedy. Like, it's Kite Man.
I love Peanuts comics, so my son's name is Charlie after Charlie Brown. And Kite Man is named Charlie after Charlie Brown too. So I had to very quickly establish his son's name. So I named him Charlie, and then I killed him. So I was like, you just killed our son in your goddamn Kite Man comic. Yeah, it's funny, when I finished Batman 85 and Kite Man's in it, my editor, Jamie Rich, called me on the phone. He's like, I like this comic. He's like, no more Kite Man ever fucking again. So
hell yeah.
He was officially retired. But he's still, that's one of my few contributions to anything. What's up?
So it sounds like you like killing off characters. Are there any characters that you want to kill off, or are they?
So many. Just,
sorry, what?
That's a great question.
Oh, okay.
Don't make me talk about the Batman family again. I get in trouble every time I do it.
It doesn't have to be Batman. It could be in any comic you want.
I firmly believe the Batman family should be Bruce, Dick, Damian, Alfred, and that's it.
Oh my god.
Everybody else dead.
Like even like Batgirl, like the side ones?
Yeah, man. It's too many of them. It's the X-Men these days.
I had, when I was a kid, one of the first comics I had when I was like 10 years old or something was, I had the Ohatu, the Marvel Index things. Marvel, whatever.
The official guidebook?
Marvel official guidebook. And they did 10 of those, and they did extra 2 that were the people who died. And for some reason, I don't know why, but that ended up in my hands. Like somebody bought it for me. I didn't have the first 11 volumes, but I had the death volume. When I didn't know what comics were. And so I would just read, and I thought it was so cool. Like Mimic, I was like, who's Mimic? Oh my god. And so it would have like their origin story, and then it'd have, when they died, and have a little picture of their death panel printed in the book. And I just thought...
This explains so much.
And there's the famous Captain America 219 or something where the vigilante or something kills like 30 villains in one issue, and so like 30 of the entries were in one issue. It's like, this must be the best issue of comics. So yeah, I feel like I keep contributing to that little book that I have. Oh, that was cool. Yeah, Captain Marvel was in there.
How much time do you have?
Oh, yeah, I was time.
So,
we have
Along the lines of killing off characters, do you think you could revisit characters that you killed off, especially like more obscure ones like Adam Strange and Mr. Miracle?
I don't.
Have you made your statement with them by killing them off?
I don't think. I don't know. It depends. I mean, no. I mean, there's no circumstance where like I'm never working with that person again. Like I've always said, like if they want to back the money train to make us do Mr. Miracle 2, it'd be like, oh, and then Adam drank his potion and he's alive.
Comics.
I want to return to Mr. Terrific.
He's not dead.
Not dead.
Yeah, I would love to return to Mr. Terrific. Yeah. Probably the one that comes to mind is like Human Target. Just that was so much fun. So if I could do, like if Greg was like, let's do another 12 issues, I'd say yes immediately. Like, yeah. Scott's harder. Scott and is would be hard because we just told his story. So
I feel like Mr. Miracle was you and I putting so much of ourselves into it that to do another one would be kind of trying to recreate magic in a bottle that maybe is no longer there because we used it all.
Yeah, I read DKR too. I've had chances to work with Scott again. Like the New Gods are in Danger Street and in Human Target's obviously the JLA. And I've always passed them. I was like, I don't want to put words in Scott's mouth anymore. But then again, when I left Batman, I was like, I'm not writing Batman again. And like 3 days later, I was like, oh, I'm writing Batman.
Wait, that.
I had a question about the stuff that you did at your home, like Sheriff of Babylon. It seems to have left a lasting impression on a lot of people who read it, and you don't seem to have the same constraints with people that you know can't do this with such characters. Have you thought about doing your own stuff together?
The door is always open.
I think
it's up to you whenever you want to do it.
I think we're just enjoying ourselves so much, and DC's been cool enough to give us stuff we want to do.
Creator own is a lot harder just in terms of the marketing, and then if you do image, you have to do everything. It's easier at Dark Horse or Boom. But yeah, I mean, DC pays us a shit ton, or at least me.
I don't know if I'd say shit ton.
And they treat me really well, and I love my editors, and if they were being crappy to me, I'd object. But for now, they're just being very kind.
Plus, it's a lot of people. They want to move into. There's many reasons you want to move into creator-owned, but one of them is that they want to tell a different kind of story than a superhero company usually does. But I think Tom and I, what we tend to do as superheroes is tell those emotional stories that a lot of people don't get the chance to in mainstream comics.
Yeah, I mean, people, what kind of story? Like, I get to tell a noir story with Slam Bradley. I get to tell, a Shakespearean tragedy with Adam Strange. Like, I just got super lucky that DC lets me tell the exact stories I want to tell. So, and it's very nice to have a super mega corporation behind you. It is, I know it comes with its downsides, but its upsides are all right too. Yeah. Like, I know, Alan Moore doesn't like Watchmen, but that book looks beautiful, right? Like, he had Len Wein editing it. I mean, that's some resources to correct.
Hey, question for you, Tom, specifically. Reading Rorschach, I was like, I just wanted to know, why'd you include Frank Miller in the story? I've just always been curious about
you guys.
Well, it worked.
It's a long story. I'll try to tell this fast. Number one, I want the original Watchmen had Joe Orlando's in it. He's in the background, but he's a character in it. Kane is also in it. There's a guy who stands in for Kane. Looks exactly like him. And so I wanted to put a modern character in it, and so that was in the back of my head. And then I was reading this biography of Binder's, Otto Binder, an old comic book guy who created Supergirl. And in it, he talks about this the biographer talked about this time that he was visited by these 4 kids, and they did the seance where they talked to dead people, and it was 4 15-year-old kids, and they tried, because Supergirl's based on Albedo's dead daughter, was trying to talk to his daughter. And I was like, this story is such a Watchmen story, because they were listening. What they did, they would record it. I put this book, but they would record the background noise of electric tape, and then they would try to listen to it and see if like ghosts or God was talking to them. And it's such a Rorschach thing to do, because you're looking at just shh, and you're saying, oh, I hear my daughter in it, right? That's what the Rorschach test is. Oh, I see my mother in this weird splotch, right? So that immediately, like, I wanted to include it. And the 4 people, there were 3 from fandom, and there was a 16-year-old Frank Miller who had gone up to them. And so Frank and I are friends. So I was like, Frank should be that. So I had the drawer animal, so I was like, Frank should be in the book, and I'll use this, and I'll reference it, and I'll somehow work it in. And I called up Frank. I said, Frank, can I put you in this book? And I said, oh, we'll make you look nice. And he said, good, can I put you in my book? And I said, if you take off 20 pounds. And so yeah, and it was endless legal negotiations. It was really hard. It was one of the hardest things in comics, just to get the legal stuff sorted out. But it was super cool.
Yeah, editors love when they have to talk to legal.
Yeah, they love that idea that I was gonna. At one point, they're going back and forth, and at one point Frank called me. He's like, Tom, we don't trust DC to have my rights. Like he was right there. He's like, I don't want DC to be able to make toys of me without my permission. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense, Frank. He's like, well, I'm gonna sign over my rights to you because I trust you, and then you can do what you want with them. I was like, so I'm gonna own Frank Miller's image rights. I was like, ooh, we're gonna make some Frank Miller toys. Tom King Incorporated.
Come to our table, you can get a bobblehead.
Yeah. So yeah, but that's one of the scariest things I've ever done in comics. Is, I wrote it and Jorge drew it, and then eventually Frank called me and he's like, well, can I read it before it comes out? And like, it's scary enough to send Frank Miller, one of my heroes, something I wrote, to send him something I wrote that he is in, where I am writing the words coming out of his mouth. Was very scary sending that PDF off and being like, hope you like it, Frank.
He still hasn't opened that email.
I live by that hope. All right, we have 1 minute.
1 minute. One last question.
Mitch, I know like Sheriff started off or it was Vertigo. Strange Adventures didn't start off as Black Label, but it became such. Is there something that you want to like create or push a boundary developing for like Black Labels straight from the jump?
I think Strange was always Black Label. It was Mr. Miracle that was not Black Label because Black Label hadn't really started.
And we fought against it.
We fought against it because Black Label was too new. We didn't know exactly what it was. And then
we really didn't want to do the album size.
Yes, we didn't want to do the weird size that nobody wants. I've talked to so many retailers and they're all like super excited for my projects when I tell them. And the first thing they say is, it's not going to be that weird size. We can't sell that weird size. So Strange Adventures was always Black Label. Mr. Miracle, the collection got turned to Black Label when they restructured it, where it was like DC proper, DC Kids, Black Label. But I'm such a Batman guy. I never tire of drawing that guy. I think it's so weird. He's so basic. It's the black and the gray and the symbol, and that's it basically. But I feel like there's just untapped things you can do with Batman. I like playing in that world.
And when I turned in my last Batman, she was on 1 page, right?
Yeah.
I gave him 22 pages of Batman with 1 page of Batman. I rewrote it. There's lots of
it.
I think we have to get going. I have to go to a meeting that's important. But
Thank you guys
this is so much.
much.